Hi everyone, welcome to week 10. This week we have two main assignments I want to go over with you to make sure that you know kind of what to do, and both of them are annotation assignments. And so annotating just means that we are highlighting and commenting on sources so that we kind of know how to use the sources or what parts of the sources kind of mean. So for example, I'll show you, this is in the student view of the assignment for Letter from Birmingham Jail. This is a letter that Martin Luther King Jr. wrote when he was in jail in Birmingham during the Civil Rights Movement. And I'll show you, so for this is my assignment, right? So as a student, so you can see right here, I made a comment for where the first rebuttal argument takes place. It's in the second paragraph, and he is responding to the argument that the civil rights demonstrators are outsiders coming in, right? Like they're stirring up trouble. They're not from here, right? They're coming from out of state and they're stirring up trouble. So then he has several different rebuttal arguments to that, meaning he has arguments to make in response to prove that that argument isn't true, okay? And the first one I highlighted here. And so to highlight, you just go up to this menu at the top and click this, and you can even choose what color you want to do. And then you can just highlight where you see the argument that he's making against this claim. So I highlighted, I, along with several members of my staff, am here because I was invited here, right? He's not an outsider coming in to stir up trouble. He was actually invited here by people who do live here to help, right? And so I highlighted that text, and then I made a short comment here. It doesn't have to be super detailed and in depth and all of that. I just said King says he was invited here. Right? Very simple. You can go more in depth if you want, but that would be perfectly fine with me. And I'll just give you a little hint with this one. I'll give you a couple hints. One is that this is a very well organized letter. It's part of why I chose it. And so for his next paragraphs, he's going to be adding new dimensions and even new rebuttal arguments. And so you could probably find something in each of these paragraphs that's kind of contributing to the point he's making about why he's not an outsider coming in, or why that's not a good argument about why civil rights demonstrators shouldn't be there. So that's what I'm expecting from you. Just highlight parts that you think are important. I'm not looking for anything super specific. The other hint that I will give you, though, a little tip if you're watching this video, is that I actually go over these arguments in the lecture slides for this week. So if you look at those slides, if you're stuck at all, you'll be able to find the quotes and stuff that I picked out from these arguments, okay? All right. The other assignment that we have for this week is the summary. Oh, no, wait, this is not it. So in the summaries assignment from last week, I went over that with my class, my in-person class. And so I shared with you a document that I made where I took a couple of primary sources and then wrote summary paragraphs based on those primary sources. Hopefully that was helpful to some of you. This is one of the primary sources that I used for that assignment, and I think it would be helpful to use to talk about this assignment that's due on Thursday, which is annotated sources. So for this, what I'm looking for is for you to annotate sources the same way you would be doing with Letter from Birmingham Jail. But you can honestly just highlight for this. You can make comments on it if you want. I love printing stuff out and making highlights and things like that. So I actually have a version of the Reddit post that I printed out and highlighted. But I wanted to show you how you can also do this. If you go to a page like Reddit that, isn't necessarily something that is naturally getting printed out a lot, if you click Control, or if you're on a Mac, Command, and then press P, it'll bring up a print menu. And then you can save this as a PDF, right? If you don't want to have to print anything out, save this as a PDF. And then I'm going to go ahead and pull up, well, actually, you know what? Maybe I'll just do it really quick. Oops. Okay, so I pulled up the PDF. This is on a PC. If I had a Mac, then it would look a little bit different, but it has similar capabilities. So after I've pulled up the saved PDF, then I can click on highlight, and then, I can even change the color if I want. And then so then I can highlight parts of this text that I think would be helpful, like, despite being universally known as not a good singer, but one hell of a performer, you can't deny her that. So then I can make highlights on the text, just with this highlighter, or I can make little comments. So whatever I want to do here, that's how I can do it. And then you would just save the file, and then you can submit it to the annotated sources assignment. And then I added a PDF on the assignment so you could see what this would look like for me. just highlighting one of my primary sources. Just make sure that you do two sources for this, and make sure that you eventually will want to have not five primary sources, five sources for the paper. Two of them should be primary, and that any sources that you include on this paper they need to be you need to be using a quote or specific fact from that source. So don't just make general claims and then cite the source. You need to make sure that any source that you're including it because it has a specific fact or quote that you need to help support your argument. Okay. That's all I'm going to cover for this week in terms of these. But please let me know if you have any questions, or if you'd like feedback, or if you'd like even more, guidance on what I'm expecting from these assignments. I hope you have a great week and good luck with your writing.